Hello.
Hey.
Welcome in the predictions for 2023 on Friday the 13th. So I'm sure all of them will come true. So our luck is, yeah. How was your day?
My day was all right, thanks. Got a bit of work done this morning. The kind of work that I do when I have other important work to do and I don't feel like it. And so I do fun work instead.
Oh, I heard you had been working on some video.
No.
No? No?
Nothing of that sort.
It's just the predictions for 2023.
Yeah, I probably will be posting some videos in 2023. That's an easy prediction to make.
I can start with a prediction that AI generated videos will be very much accessible and really easy to make. So like, let's say teddy bear running in sneakers and then jumping over the rainbow. That prediction would be, yeah, that's mine. What's yours?
Yeah, that seems plausible.
Let's just throw predictions at each other.
Random predictions.
Totally.
Yeah, AI is moving fast, so I'm excited for the new chatbots that'll come out this year. Like close to the end of last year, ChatGPT was fun to play with. It was much better than, well, easier to play with than GPT-3. So probably there'll be better iterations coming up.
Hold on a second, just tagging you. Nerdalliun.
Something I was looking forward to. I don't know if much will happen this year specifically, but there are some studies looking into various senolytic therapies. There's a particular, I think it's flavonoid or polyphenol, whatever, physatin, that has been tested in mouse models, but not so much in humans. So there are currently trials ongoing with human studies. So it'd be nice to see some of those results coming in. Although I do think some of the results may only come in 2 or 3 years' time.
I predict the tornado will end in Sacramento in 2023.
The tornado will end.
Yeah, the current one.
The current one. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yes. And seasons will change. It'll go from winter to spring, and then maybe some summer, and then maybe some fall, and then another winter. How about that?
Yeah, you're down under, right, in South Africa. So you have right now summer. It's like middle summer.
So it'll go fall, winter, spring, summer again for us.
Cool. Sorry, I'm still editing the things. Okay, let me look.
You're gonna do line by line 100 this year, aren't you?
I will do line by line 100. Hello, Graham. Welcome. I hope Graham is visual. So Graham is a mathematician with really, really sharp sense of humor. And Nodalliun is a psychologist. Like, can I introduce you as a psychologist?
It's a little bit illegal in some places to call me a psychologist. Only some places, though. Some places are quite strict with the term. Other places, not so much. I think in America, it's a protected term. You have to have a license.
So,
strictly speaking, like marketing yourself as a psychologist in South Africa, also you have to have a license. I'm not so sure about Britain. It's been a while since I looked at the laws, and my memory may be mistaken or it may have changed. But I think maybe in Britain you can call yourself a psychologist if you want to.
Yeah, that's cool.
I just have a bachelor's degree in industrial psychology. That's not enough to get a license.
What is industrial psychology?
Well then, shall we open the stream with a long, boring conversation?
Okay.
All the ways in which psychology can be applied in HR and in organizational development and in leadership development and all that stuff.
Graham, you're still loading? How are you doing? Graham is still loading. There. Okay. I will send also invites a little bit.
Yeah, so I also have a bachelor's degree in operations research, which is a field of applied analytics. So it's a bit of a combination of mathematics and statistics and computer science. Easy way to summarize that is applied mathematics, computer science, and statistics for industrial engineering, for management science.
So in 2023, do you predict to get another agent?
Yes.
So do you predict
many more agents, not just one. At least 3 more agents. Oh no!
No. What does?
There's something with your Zoom call, Kara. It has some kind of energy that's just pushing people trying to get in out of the room.
Oh no.
What did you say? Yeah, more agents. Do you know why? Do you know why that's true? Because Francois is the only other person that is a member of the secret radio Discord server. So we've had clandestine meeting there before.
Oh, that's excellent. I did not
know. How are
know.
you, Francois?
I'm very well, thanks. It's been a while.
How's the jiu-jitsu training going?
It's going well. Just getting over the New Year's or the holiday laziness. We started training again this week.
Yeah, I just started training again this week too. I think I want to. I'm like debating whether I want to go to Germany or whether I want to go to Europe, because I can't. If I go to Germany, I have to go to Poland to see Nodrik. But, or if I want to just like totally, I don't know, because I got so many hobbies. Right, there's the music, the martial arts, and I'm like, I went to martial arts. I had so much fun the other day. I'm like, I got to put this as my number one of my hierarchy of values. Right.
Hierarchy of values. Yeah. So predicting you're going either to Germany or where did you say?
No, I said that I would like to go to Europe, right? And if I went to Germany to see Valeria, I'd be like, well, I'm near Poland, so I have to see Nodrik, right?
Germany or Europe. So are you predicting there'd be a split of Germany from Europe? big international event. Germany, the biggest contributor to the European Union. I don't know if that's correct, but
I like your backdrop. Is that like your prediction for the future, right there?
It's a starting point from which we will rebuild.
And you know what? That's kind of aligning with what I'm thinking. So I had my camera off because I was going to reveal my new Christmas shirt that my mom got. I said, Mom, buy me a trendy Christmas shirt that's kind of crazy. And she went over the top. So I was going to reveal it at church, but I thought, what better place to reveal it than on Nodrik's channel? So
thank you. Thank you. I'm honored. Agent, by the way, is the one who did the entire intro to my channel and to Line by Line. It's posted as the main.
You see it, friends? You're in it.
Oh yeah, I commented on it. It's a good move.
Like it?
It was a good move.
Did you feel well represented?
Well represented. Yeah, sure.
Were you okay with your representation?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an amazing film that made me cry. Actually, it makes me cry each time I watch it.
I had all my favorite line by line people on it. You were one of them, friends. So,
thank you very much.
And Agent, since you did not talk to Francois, he changed his name to Nerdalliun and started. Yes,
What
like
What is Nerdalliun? Is that like a play on nerd, or is that some other Greek fancy reference that I don't get?
No, it's a play on Nerdalliun Plebz is for the full name. Yeah, I'm playing with it because I feel like leaning into my nerdy plebby side. Sort of.
What is a pleb side? What is a pleb again?
Plebeians are unimportant regular folk with no status or position.
Ah. I don't know if I like the shaved head though.
You don't?
I mean, it's very monkish though, so maybe that's good.
Actually, no. My mom also doesn't like it. But we had to talk about it. She showed a picture of me to her hairdresser, and the hairdresser likes it. She's like, "No, it's the dude." Cara likes it. So I got 2 people who don't like it, and I got about 5 people who like it.
No, I didn't say I don't. I said I don't know. I mean, I like that it has a monk aspect to it. So
I'm not
Why
a
are you
monk.
laughing? Nodrik.
Because I'm just happy. I'm just happy to see you guys or to hear you. Graham is still joining. Graham is a friend from another channel.
Yeah, I was pretty proud of that thing that I made, friend. So, like, I'm glad that you saw it. So, it was kind of like it was like it was inspired by Nodrik and wanted to do something nice for Nodrik, but it was also kind of like a love letter to all my Discord friends, right? So,
yeah, it was very nice. Thanks. Yeah, before seeing that, I hadn't spoken to Cara for about a month, and so
yeah,
commenting on that was how I broke the silence. That's why earlier I said it was a good move.
Well, I tried to reach out to you too, and I think you disconnected me, or maybe you disabled that account or whatever.
We just think I left a bunch of servers, and for some reason we never added each other as friends.
Did we never in the past? I thought we were because I messaged you.
Yeah, if you're on common servers, you don't have to be friends. You can just message each other. So like it sometimes happens. So I guess we're not on common servers anymore.
So is it possible to be friends, like not officially on Discord and still be friends? Like, does that work in the real world?
I don't know. I think you have to be friends on Discord at least for a couple of months before in real life you can be friends.
I think in order to be friends, you have to share common interests like music and martial arts. So I don't know if we meet those criteria in philosophy.
Yeah.
And an annoyance with Mark.
Common enemies. How about that?
Hello, Graham.
Is Graham?
There we go. But it's not Nerdalliun though.
Nerdalliun, Graham. So we are here in the room. We have 4 people, but because guys only on voices. So on the YouTube, just the 2 of us are showing. And in the audience, we have Cordell, Sigma, and Bazani. So hi, people. So guys, everybody who has any predictions would like to be read out loud, no matter how ridiculous, just put it in the comments and we will voice them.
Oh boy, we can't promise we'll read your username.
Depends. Like I actually, there are a lot of funny people joined last live stream with absolutely hilarious usernames. And I was like waiting for Agent 69 in there because I know Agent 69, he's here in the room with us talking. It's like, yeah, some of my favorite people. Shout out, by the way, to all the people with funny names. You're valuable and you're very important.
It was Harry and Hugh.
But now I'm just an agent because I have what is the word agency in the world?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
and also Agent 69 was some weird like cartoon that was made with some woman who was a stripper or something, I realized. So I thought, well.
Is that a prediction?
So I want you guys first to predict whether you will like my shirt or not.
I predict I will love it.
I predict I won't care for it.
Shall I do the reveal now or shall I wait?
Yes, absolutely. I will make a clip of it and replay it.
Okay, the reveal.
Oh my God, it's lovely. I love it, all the little patterns and also beautiful colors.
So like some patterns coming in and out of style, like Paisley, which is a pretty crazy one, but this one's so wild, I don't think it'll go out of style because it'll always be a crazy shirt.
I really love it. It's beautiful. You know what you would need to that? A fedora. That shirt would go really well with a
I'm thinking
fedora.
I should not wear the glasses though. So
Oh.
which is
How are you
better,
gonna-
glasses or
how-
no glasses?
How are you going to read the micro expressions if you don't have your glasses on?
Yes. I can neither confirm nor deny that certain people in this room have looked into Ekman.
Okay, so another prediction. Friday the 13th inspired prediction. There will be a new Friday the 13th movie this year.
Seems plausible.
Mm,
Would an independent mini movie on YouTube count?
yeah,
Or,
yeah.
yeah.
We can film one.
Make one, yeah. December 20th. Shit, we predict a movie. We'll make a movie.
It's gonna be me wearing a hockey mask showing up at Francois' jiu-jitsu dojo.
Oh dear.
And then Francois tapping me out with ease. I predict that Francois will, if I ever meet him and roll with him, will be able to tap me out with ease.
I don't know about that. I don't know.
I don't make such prediction.
I predict that Francois and Karen Nodrik will reconcile their artistic differences and make another track.
That might happen.
It might.
We'll see. Our artistic differences are huge, though, so it's gonna take a lot.
They are huge, or they are huge in general.
Everything's huge. We must.
I don't want to
know.
know how. Karen, you know that everything's huge, or what?
I don't want to know what my brain is talking about so, at the moment.
Do you miss Mr. UG from last time?
Mr. UG, yes. Like, shout out to the Mr. UG. UGE, Eugene. I will call him Eugene. I miss Eugene a lot.
I predict that due to the popular response of Agent's about to be released full talk with Griswold Grimm, Agent will have another conversation with Griswold Grimm.
I predict that too. It's like I love it. The room. I predict, yeah, line by line 100 will be a smash hit.
Ooh.
Smash it.
I wanted to be 99. Maybe I could be 100.
Can be on 100. 100's open, isn't it?
Hey, friends, can you do line by line with me and Nodrik?
On 100, sure.
Do you guys know? I will reveal the song for the line by line 100, but I have a prediction from Cordell, who is in the audience. There will be a new house market crisis in Europe. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, well, we'll just get all the negative ones out. Like, how about some fires, some floods?
Yeah, some famine. We had those. Some war.
So there's a guy
do you guys think the war will end this year? The war in Ukraine?
I don't know, man. Yeah, I predict that China and Russia are going to fall apart, but I'm scared to predict what's going to happen as they realize that's happening.
You think China is more likely to fall apart than America at this point?
Okay, I think that America is in good. I predict that America will be in good shape as the world goes through a process of deglobalization.
Okay.
They've got resources.
Bazani, make a good one.
Bazani.
Oh,
This is so bad.
Guys, reading from the comments, Basani, 2023 will not be worse than the last 3 years. Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you. It's hard to imagine anything worse than the last 3. That's a good prediction. Then, oh, hi, Philip. Sigma predicts that the future is an imagining. Sorry, like I'm really bad at reading. The future is an imagining that we make presently. So present accordingly. Yeah, thank you. That's a good advice. Philip, aliens will reveal themselves. And we will be like, meh. Yeah.
We would be like, meh.
Yes. It's like, guys, we've been through a lot.
So does that mean that all the people with missing time will suddenly know where that time went?
Oh.
Recover their memories.
Yeah. So Graham says he has technical difficulties, so he drops out. Yeah. Okay. People with missing time. Yeah, the line by line 100 will be precisely about time. It's a big sponsor of line by line is free time. And the song 100 has actually chorus that sings time. And Eliza had in the chorus the character in the song, she has time, she has 50 years more time, he did not have enough time, he was running out of time. Like, so time is that part that goes through the entire song. For the line by line 100, we will be analyzing a song from Hamilton called Who Lives, Who Dies, Who Tells Your Story. And I predict we will reveal it, publish it, on the 20th of January, which would be anniversary, 8th anniversary of premiere of Hamilton on Broadway by wonderfully talented Lin-Manuel Miranda, who I predict will have a birthday in 3 days. Yeah, and Agent, you're absolutely welcome to join. It's a great song. It's a very personal song. It's the song that I had been listening for almost 8 years now. It's
we'll have to get the timing right because I am working on it.
Yeah, I will try.
I predict that I will overcome my second midlife crisis.
Second midlife crisis. When was the first one?
When I was 30. Which is kind of weird. Can you have 2 midlife crises at 2 different eras in your life? Because really you only have one midlife.
I've heard people talk about what's it, quarter life quandary for people in their 20s who have a crisis.
And
then I've heard people talk about a meaning crisis, which you can apparently have at any time. You can have for several hundred years at a time.
I predict I will pull off a Russian accent right now while reading the comments. So, the comment from Cordell from the comment section. There is a 10% chance that there will be a solar flare that provokes an EMP worldwide. Cool. Good prediction. Philip. That's the missing time thing? No idea. Guys, what do you think?
I don't know what is the reference of the missing time to, Agent?
I actually heard
there was this book that I read once called Communion, and it was talking about like this guy that had discovered that through hypnosis or whatever that he'd been abducted by aliens. And it's like actually one of the worst movies ever made, and it's a crazy book. And so like the missing time reference is that you know, if you have missing time, you don't know where you were, and you have suddenly have weird scars in your body and all these kind of weird things happen to you, that it may be sign of an alien abduction. Or ritual satanic sexual abuse, one of the two. I don't know.
If you're Australian, it's definitely the latter.
One of them is more believable than the other one. I
The
will
alien
not
one?
say which one.
Okay, in the chat, which is more realistic, alien abductions or ritual satanic sexual abuse, is in relation to missing time?
Hashtag Friday the 13th. So, Bazani, prediction for Alex Jones in 2023, according to Reddit. They are putting the hydrogen monoxide into the oceans to turn male clownfish to female. So Finding Nemo 3 can never be made. I mean, Nemo can be a girl fish name, right?
Nemo, yeah.
Ah.
Nightwish has a song Nemo, where it's a woman singing her name is Nemo.
So from a sorry, I keep interrupting and changing the topic. I have a pressing prediction that I want. I want to know whether Canada will reverse its ascent into totalitarianism.
Oh my God, we are on 3 different continents right now. So Nerdalliun is in Africa, I'm in Europe, and Agent is in North America. Canada.
Blame Canada.
Why?
It's a 9/11 reference.
Like Canadians want to be in the middle of everything?
No, you can just get away with blaming Canada because Canada, yeah, you can get away with blaming Canada because they're so polite to forgive you. If you wrongfully accuse them.
Yeah, we'll be passive aggressively hate you.
Passive aggressive and silently judge our misuse of pronouns.
No, not so silently anymore. That used to be Canada. Now we outright do it, and we legislate it into law.
Philip has a prediction. So Canada will not split. Nova Scotia will split from Dominion.
Alberta keeps threatening to join the United States. I wonder if that'll happen, especially with Peterson. And Peterson, Alberta will succeed Canada, and I predict that Peterson will become the president of Alberta.
I mean, it's weird. Like I predict that people who are popular on the internet have bigger chances of on winning any election anywhere. It's like somehow there is this power to be in media famous. Yeah.
So do you think? So does that mean that Trump has less chance because he's legacy media and not is internet savvy?
No, he has more chance because he's media. Like the fact that he's in the media doesn't matter what he had done there. Like he's famous.
So people are predicting that he has a really good chance for the next election. What do you think?
I do not predict that. Even for Friday the 13th, I can't believe that will happen. I just like it. Like my overseeing eye into the future cannot see that. Like it's easier. Although I might be wrong, let's see, we can have a bet. I don't believe it will happen though. I think it will be like with Twitter. So he got an invitation back to Twitter. He's like, nah.
You think Donald Trump will be re-elected and then refuse to be president? Just be like, no, I didn't have fun last time. You guys mistreated me, and then leave.
He might. I actually might see that coming. That people will be like, "Come on, do it again." He's like, "Nah, I want to do something else now."
What do you guys predict for Elon Musk?
Okay. For Elon will reveal another baby.
So
with
Grimes
Grimes
acting up.
No, he's one of his. I'm not talking about Elon here. I was like, it will be a surprise baby, and his name will be Y. Yeah. Any other predictions? Could be like really. Somebody told me, Graham last time told about prediction on a live television, a worm will crawl out of somebody's ear, which seemed like really interesting.
Worm will crawl out.
What do you predict for South Africa, Franz?
Oh boy, more rolling blackouts. That's a really easy prediction. They've been going on for many years. There's more of that. Maybe some slightly more stability than we've seen. Our current president got reelected as the president of the ruling party as well, and there were concerns that he wouldn't be, so there'd be some upset, but there wasn't upset. So that's
is it a good thing?
Stability is underrated sometimes. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think among the politicians there's anyone with clean hands. But as far as they go, I don't mind our current president.
Now, I know this is a touchy subject. Do you guys predict that America will get more involved with the Ukraine as a battle against Russia more blatantly, or do you think they'll be more standoffish and just kind of like not get directly involved?
I think a comet will fall somewhere, and which will divert attention of everybody from the war, and people will just start repairing the damage done by comet, and then they will think, it would be really, really cool if we would use all the efforts into protecting the planet from comets rather than focusing on little. And then they will be like, we will put all the resources that we dumped into military and arming into actually using it for protection of the planet against like incoming comets and stuff.
What about Mars?
I mean, like,
think we'll get there?
Yeah, we will, and then we're like, oh my god, it's horrible in here. Why did we ever want to come here to Mars?
I'm wondering if it's going to be like another penal planet where they send like fucking criminals to Mars because no one else wants to go there. And then they just have to survive and tough it out.
Oh my god,
that would
be horrible. Like, isn't it easier to send them to like the bottom of the ocean or stuff than to Mars? It actually would be cheaper.
That'd be more interesting.
It's easiest to recruit them to your military and start a war with a neighboring country.
Oh, that's so horrible. Like, why? Okay, there is from the comments section. Elon will be coming out as a non-binary. He might. Like, he's an exploratory human being. I can see that. Then Yellow Psych also predicts, Hillary Clinton drama continuing in 2023. Mars is the new Australia. Oh yeah, like there is something to it. Do we have Australians? Yeah, we might have Australians joining later.
And then there will be a Martian equivalent of Croc-a-Dundee in the future.
We're wrestling Martian aliens.
The scorpion person. Like, who have you heard about that conspiracy that on Mars there are scorpion people?
A conspiracy? The scorpion people are doing something?
Yeah, like precisely, half scorpion, half person.
I know, that's ridiculous. Everyone knows it's not scorpions, it's the reptilians.
Yeah,
I mean, get it right.
On Mars? Agent, I heard that in Canada, only one species of actual lizards living. Like reptiles just don't like Canada at all.
Well, yeah, it's because we're the home of the Greys, actually. Sorry, I'm just on this aliens conspiracy kick.
Yeah. Like, I haven't seen proof for or against, but the way the world is run, I mean, it's easy to blame it on some aliens. Like, humans cannot possibly run it that shitty.
Because humans are good at running things?
We're just hoping that there's someone smarter than us.
I mean, they're blaming it on reptilians, and reptilians like, what? We are trying to help all the time. I don't know why they sound with Russian accent.
Like how many...
We are just doing, guys? We are not running things. Oh. That can get me into trouble. Yeah, shout out YouTube.
Yeah, this is the stream can get people into trouble.
Oh my god. Okay. Shoulder pads and popper collars will return. Oh, shoulder pads.
Shall we go for it, Agent?
Yeah, but shoulder pads.
Like, what about the mullet? Do you think the mullet will ever come back?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there are Zoomers who wear mullet, ironically.
I saw a guy wear one and it actually didn't look bad, but I was like, dude, that's pretty brave back. I should show you my mullet picture. Oh, it's funny.
Okay. And then, oh, yellow cycle is a reptile. Nice discovery, buddy. And Bazani, bell bottoms, and Doc Martens.
Doc Martens, the combat boot.
What are they?
They're like these. They're super pop. They're even still popular here in Canada. You know those like skinheads used to wear them. They're like this British boot that has like it's kind of like clunky, and it has like quite often has yellow threads around the outside of it. Yeah, they're really good shoes actually. They last forever, and you can replace the soles.
Oh, I heard mullet is back from the room. Apparently, baseball players wear them.
It has been back, and now it's out again.
I mean, the mullet will never go out. The mullet will never go out of Canada because it's also known as hockey hair.
Hockey hair.
I mean, as long as there is hockey, there will be mullets. Is it like mullet is good for balancing on ice? It's like a tail, you know.
Yeah, it helps you to maneuver like it kind of the tail, but it's short on the sides for speed.
Yeah, it's aerodynamic and stuff. Depends how you oil it. I'm not sure, but it seems like Nerdalliun has a mullet.
Just hiding it behind my pop collar.
You can't have a shaved head in mullet. You got to have some on the top. It's party in the front. No, what is it called? Business in the front, party in the back.
Oh my god. What's that expression?
Party in the front, business in the front, party in the back, because it's short on top and then it's party in the back.
Talking about hair.
I know. Guys, make a prediction that I will come out of this cringe situation really gracefully.
Out of the what?
Out of this cringe situation. I predict that Cara will have several parties in the back.
I predict.
How dare you?
Nodrik will become so big that she will be able to break the fourth wall of the internet. What do you think? How would you break the fourth wall of the internet, Cara? You got to figure that out.
What is the fourth wall of the internet?
Well, what is the fourth wall?
Yeah, I don't understand that. Like, I heard that expression, but like, what is it? I'm not in.
It's like it's used in theater quite often. Like the fourth, is it the third wall? Okay, so like the fourth, it's like when suddenly you like talk to the audience, you break the fourth wall because all of a sudden you're destroying the illusion of the performance that's going on, and you know. And like I was just watching a thing on YouTube, who I've kind of like reestablished my love for the early stuff, and he broke the fourth wall of the audience because you have rock stars used to be so detached from the audience. And at Live Aid, there was this girl that was like being crushed and kind of panicking, and he went down and he's like, come up, and he broke the fourth wall by going into the audience, bringing this girl out and dancing with her, right?
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah.
So when in House of Cards, Kevin Spacey, shut out, by the way. I wonder where did he disappear and why. And so when Kevin Spacey addresses the audience and talks like, I just murdered a dog. I did a good thing. Yeah, that's breaking the fourth
wall, yeah. Oh. I think it's the fourth wall. Is it the fourth wall or the third wall?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I had a rough idea that breaking the fourth wall would be to sort of undermine the shared understanding that
the media or the container has
of the narrative. Yeah, so stepping outside of the narrative. So you're willingly suspending disbelief that a story is happening. So if you like step outside of that story and talk to the audience in like the real life story.
Kurt Vonnegut used to do it in his books all the time.
That was very poorly articulated. I thought I understood the fourth wall better than I just said.
You did well.
We have Andre in the audience from Australia. Andre, like you might.
I predict that Andre will make a brilliant electronic album once he gets the studio back together.
I predict. You know what? I think I predict that this YouTube video will be used as oracle, while randomly clicking at every second and listening to each prediction. You might get an interesting idea for a movie.
Oh, I have ideas for me.
Yeah. What's your idea for the movie?
I don't know. Can't talk about it now. It's top secret. I'm going to do the, I predict that after Karen Nodrik breaks it big, breaks the fourth wall of the internet, I will be involved in the Karen Nodrik story, the documentary.
Yeah, you will be the one who will film it and make it. I predict that people will start reading more in 2023, like paper books.
So I've been wondering if it would go the opposite way, like if the general culture would go the opposite way, where people will like. See, I was just gonna make a negative prediction that Isaac Asimov's book, The Foundation, will be viewed as prophetic as we go into a dark age.
Oh, so you mean people will clone the king over and over and make him?
No. What happens in the Foundation, and me and Grizz were talking about in the talk that I have coming out, so watch for that. Is that you have this guy? This guy predicts that the world is going to collapse, and that there's going to be a dark age, but he can shorten the dark age, the length of it, by creating this foundation and having it sequestered in this part of the world where all the great brilliant intellects and intellectuals and scientists will be. And so and this will shorten the dark age from being millions of years to only being 100 years.
I see.
Yeah. I predict that in 2023, there will be a trend of live streams reading books to the people, because people will want to go to sleep while listening to somebody else reading a book. And it will be called Good Night Library.
Oh,
Good Night Library.
Someone's got to do that. Yeah.
There's
Somebody
already
has
people
to
doing
do
that. Yes, some people are doing that. There's some nice French bedtime stories.
Yeah, this entire phenomenon of the live stream thing has been really interesting on YouTube, right? Like, yeah.
I don't think there were live streams. So live stream is an interesting twist on it.
I predict there will be a crazy solution to fixing all fights. Like for example, a game of darts.
A game of darts settles all fights.
Yes.
No more marital conflicts ever. No more.
No.
No more
So
wars.
any territorial dispute will be solved by an AI throwing dart into a map.
Or what I would like to see is paper, rock, scissors battles. Just millions of soldiers doing paper, rock, scissors, and then they calculate the winner at the end.
Yeah, it's nice.
I predict that Sam Harris will come out with a new book on why Twitter is toxic. He left Twitter because he decided it's toxic with 8 million people following him. Shout out to Sam Harris. Okay.
So being we're doing predictions, I would like someone to come up with a prediction they want to know, and I will look up on the I Ching the answer to what is going to happen with that prediction.
So Bazani says he would like to predict in 2023 isn't the year of the machine stops. What is the machine stops? Shout out to French Nightmare.
Yeah, nighttime stories, not French nightmares. What do you want about?
Dance battles to solve global conflicts.
Dance battles or rap battles? They got
no dance battles.
Oh, that would be epic.
Yeah.
But who would judge it?
No, but who would dance? Like all the presidents would come out on prime ministers and be like.
No judges needed. Like the truth will just reveal itself to everyone, and there will be unanimous agreement. That's how the conflicts will be settled.
Or won't it be like figure skating, where it's like 10 from everybody and then 3.5 from the Russian judge?
Yeah, Russians actually had been pretty good figure skaters. Like I can't deny that. I'm thinking about cloning. There will be a first ever cloned Labrador.
Labrador?
Yes.
Golden Retrievers.
Yes, the first cloned Golden Retriever.
Dude, I want my sister's Labrador cloned.
Already? How do you clone a Labrador?
Well, you take a cell and clone it, I guess, wouldn't you? I don't know.
Like, what happens to the Labrador's personality? Like, is it completely disappears after being cloned? I mean, it's a new dog essentially. Even if it's cloned, it's not the same dog it used to be. It's like it doesn't have the same memories. It will not recognize the owner. I can't believe that. Like memories are not passed by cloning a dog.
They cloned a sheep. They called it Dolly.
I remember that the Dolly, the sheep. I remember that. Somebody said, like I think Tom McDonald in his song, he was singing that actually you can clone for $10,000 your pet, and I could not like how the process looks like, because in order to clone something, like you can have a replica of a pet with just appearance, like same DNA, but I'm talking about cloning a golden retriever and his personality with the memories attached.
Wow.
Like this, like complete double of a dog.
Replicants.
Yeah. Although I am not sure how it's possible in theory.
I'm not sure it is possible in theory.
I mean, where are memories stored? I heard they are stored actually everywhere. Like even the skin remembers. Is it accurate?
Like more embodied.
That depends what you mean by memory. There are different things that could be referred to as memory.
Receptors are in the brain, right? Like they're playing out all the story that used to be once in the past.
So stories would be episodic memories, which is different from semantic memory. So like you can remember what the word memory means. You can't necessarily remember the story about where you learned the word memory from. Even though you probably learned memory as an adult, as a foreign speaker of English. So the knowledge of meanings of words are semantic memories. Then episodic memory is a little different. And then like knowing how to ride a bike is also a kind of memory. And yeah, the like changes that happens in the body that you can think of as kinds of memories, scars, metabolic changes, and epigenetic changes. But it depends how broadly you want to use the term memory.
Yeah, it's
And then there's
interesting.
the Jungian perspective that there's like some collective unconscious, memory.
Yeah, so we have unconditioned responses to several kinds of emotive stimuli, like unconditioned fear responses are a thing. So you don't need to really, like a visual cliff, I think babies are scared of without really learning about it. I think it's one of the examples.
And you would have certain traits that would kind of map onto a personality. So like if you cloned a Labrador and that Labrador that was say super hyperactive and not very well behaved, like my sister's Labrador, the clone would probably be like that too. But I guess it would also relate to nurture too and how you trained it or whatever, right? But it would still have some traits that were essence of its personality, right?
Proclivities.
Yeah, I think so.
Proclivity, yeah.
I think actually Labradors as a breed have like stereotypical personalities that are different from some other breeds of dogs.
I have seen that program on Netflix, How Mind Works, and precisely they've done an experiment in mice where mice had to memorize a certain passageway through the maze. And then they were scanning the brain of the mice during the mice's sleep and while the mice was running through the maze. And while the mouse was running, upon left or right turn, a certain part of the brain would light up. And what they noticed, that when mice was asleep, it would replay over and over running through the maze. And they recognized it by seeing the dots light up in the brain, which I found extremely interesting experiment. It's like incorporating a learned passageway while asleep. I think humans also do that.
Yeah, to some extent. Humans have more complicated lives than just having one passage to remember. I think like mouse and rats in the wild also have more complicated lives than just remembering one maze thing. So they may have more complicated dreams too.
I was curious about different predictions or like theories about what dreams are. Because when I was a kid, I was taught a legend that dreams are for some reason, your soul leaves your body, but your body is still alive, like on autopilot or something. And then it travels into different universes. Which I kind of like, upon learning that, I had dreams which would like help me to make sense of it, let's say. Later on, I read that dreams, like there is no soul leaving the body. It's your brain through symbolism trying to incorporate what you learn through the day, but it also is influenced by what you ate, if there is pain in your body somewhere. Like that idea, if somebody sees a friend in a dream, a long lost friend, and the friend comes with a warning, then it's a sign of upcoming illness. It was in some. And the idea that your brain knows that your body is getting sick before you know it consciously, and maybe it would symbolize it as friend coming and warning, but I think it's different for different cultures. Just wondering what you guys heard about what dreams are. Agent?
Yeah, I heard, I think Reiki was talking about that, or maybe it was Peterson that was talking about like what you were saying about it's integrating memories and stuff in a symbolic thing, and like, yeah, he had an entire thing about that. That was really interesting. So I find that kind of interesting, right? I don't know that there is something to dream.
Sorry.
Go ahead. I do that.
No. I thought you were done. You weren't. Continue.
How Canadian of me apologizing for you interrupting me. What do you think of the dream thing, Franz?
I was just going to say the last thing I read about it was by Mark Soms, and I think it had something to do with it being more or less what brain activity is like if the parts of the brain that order thoughts are shut down. So the part of the prefrontal cortex that put things into a proper order, like time sequences and narrative order and causal structure. If those parts are shut down, then the brain thoughts would be more chaotic. So there are specific things that immobilize the body, but otherwise brain activity looks fairly normal, except for the fact that the control structures are shut down. And I think what happens in lucid dreams is the control structures come back online. So I tend to think of dreams as basically hallucinations. It's just the kind of hallucinations people regularly have.
I had a friend that said that told me that he taught himself how to lucid dream. He would, and I've heard that from several people. I don't know how much utility that would have, but yeah, kind of a natural video game.
I've never read anyone who said that they've successfully learned themselves to lucid dream have much to say about how useful it is. Some people find it interesting because experiencing dreams is a little different from experiencing real life.
So I have, speaking of my loud shirt, I have a Peterson prediction. Do you think Peterson's fashion sense will go more in the pimp direction or back to the conservative suit direction? Have you seen his wild Twitter suits and stuff?
Yeah. I think he will keep with the style because he mapped onto a charismatic leader stereotype. How Boris Johnson always makes his hair messy on purpose. Like I heard a lot of people were saying that he has to maintain a certain image that he created for himself. So Jordan just goes with this old Joker actually personality. So he's dressing up like this because it's a symbol. I'm breaking the stereotypes. You see, guys, I can do it. I can break the
conservative kind of stiff mold.
Yes, and I can do it just like that.
So now Sally was saying that hashtag Sally Jo Mickelson, she has a YouTube channel.
Yeah, shout out Sally.
She was saying that he was probably supporting a designer that he liked or something, which could also be true, right? Which it wouldn't be mutually exclusive.
Yeah. But there is this idea where you are courageous and you're showing publicly how courageous you are. And I guess like for Canadian, like I will dress up courageously, like I will have all those crazy socks. It's fine. It's like people are always afraid to be singled out of the crowd. Not always. It's a generalization. Again, what I learned from nonviolent communications not to generalize. I still did not learn it. I just read about it. Yeah, I think he's trying to be outstanding. Like he wants to stand out from the crowd and be perceived as either crazy or courageous, but either way different than everybody else.
I'm having a look at some of his suits. I don't like. He's got some blue suits. I tried to.
He has a Twitter suit that's crazy, but he has a heaven hell suit, and on one side is made out of goat, and the other side is made out of sheets. On one side is kind of like blue, and the other side is kind of like a kind of flaming color. And the inside of it is like one side's like clouds,
fire.
And one side's like yeah.
He goes for elements as well. Like he has this suit that has like all elements incorporated into it. It's like, yeah, he's expressing himself, but also he's expressing himself in a careful way. So this means clothes, appearance is, I mean, whom does it harm? It's actually, it doesn't harm. Like even with the hair, it's like some, it seems crazy, but it's not. It's actually just clothes.
The interesting thing is that I've heard people talk and say, well, I missed him with his old fuzzy sweater day or something. You know what I mean? Like,
I actually like him more now, but like I do miss his personality back in the day. He was
humble.
father figure. Like he was like
Figure, yeah.
where right now he seems like a loud celebrity. Like, you know, this type of reality show Big Brother
The
type.
Daily Wire thing is kind of bringing that out in him, right? He's still good on his podcast, but or his YouTube channel.
I stopped seeing him as a father figure. Like I just like if a father figure in a celebrity, not a celebrity, but like with the sweater, kind tells you to clean up the room and it will help you. I feel like he's looking out for me. But if a celebrity like that, I will do anything to be impressive, provocative, and like I don't want to clean up my room anymore. I don't know if you guys know what I mean. It's just like maybe I will be like him and will go and like do that thing.
So have you guys heard about his latest scandal in Canada?
Honestly, I kind of lost interest and stopped paying attention to Jordan Peterson altogether for a couple of years now.
But anyways, I just want to say this one thing, which is representative of politics here, is now that because he tweeted this guy Poilievre, who is the challenger to Pierre Trudeau and our woke totalitarianism, and so now the Canadian College of Psychologists or whatever has now brought him, said that he needs mandatory media training in order to maintain his license due to his political opinions.
That'd be his psychology license?
Yeah.
Gilad, hello.
Gilad, how are you? Nice to see you.
Good, thank you. You too.
You have any predictions?
Yeah, I don't know. I was hearing you talking about Jordan Peterson and scandals, and I thought, this is scandalous enough for me to join in and talk about it. But I was wondering just about what you were saying, about this revoking his license for his behavior online and all of that. So I get his objection to that and the claims, about how it's authoritarian and like dictatorial and all that. I'm wondering, like, do you think there's also a side? I guess there is a limit, right? If some like association wants to be doesn't want to be recognized with someone, I think about it in many contexts. For instance, there's Josephson, I forget his first name, but he won the Nobel Prize for superconductivity thing called Josephson junctions when he was like 30, and ever since then he's investigating stuff like parapsychology and the supernatural and stuff like that, and he's still employed in universities because it ranks up their ratings. But basically in physics conventions, people kind of hate him. They don't like this guy who's talking about stuff that isn't physics, and basically everyone thinks he's kind of lost it. And I'm wondering, like, what do you think would be the kind of point where you would side with Jordan, and what would be the point where you would side with this committee, saying like, maybe let's not let him call himself like a part of us?
I mean, all of this is so entangled within like a political thing. So my perception of it is from a deep disturbance of how far my country. The country used to be thought of as peacekeepers and diplomats and politeness, and now we're thought of as like these like legislating pronouns into the law as hate crimes, right? So like there's, and also like, you know, like taking away protesters' children because they protest against the government, right? So like all these things are entangled in that for me. So, but you're right. Like if you limit it to that perspective, like for instance, I'll give you like a less controversial one. There's a guy, a comedian, Andy Kaufman, who used to do like these kind of like comedic things, like where it seemed real. Like he did this wrestling thing where he'd wrestle with women, talk down women, and get into these wrestling matches. But he was an avid, really spiritual person that was a member of the Transcendental Meditation movement. But the TM movement discredited him and barred him from teaching TM meditation because of his comedic things with these women and the stuff like that. So yeah, so you do have a point, right? Like,
so what I'm thinking about is when you listen, for instance, to Jordan Peterson, especially the earlier Jordan Peterson, he talks a lot about, you know, don't put the evil elsewhere, put the evil like on yourself. And I feel like a lot of the latest Jordan Peterson is like, man, wicked globalists are causing poverty everywhere and it has nothing to do with me. It's their evil stuff and everything. And I'm like, I'm not saying you should always be this kind of Buddha figure and saying like it's something about me, but there's something about the manner more than the matter that I feel has dramatically shifted about him in a way that I heard Kara say before about, you know, no longer being a kind of father figure.
Or like evil postmodernists you often hear too, right?
Yeah, like what the woke moralists, like in his infamous Twitter ban video, and I mean, just by saying, you know, the woke moralists, like putting that label on that entire plethora of things, you know, that relate to that and he might object to, but it relates also to a few other things that he said that I found kind of resonating with that. For instance, when he was talking in earlier lectures, he would talk about like himself, and he would say, you know, stuff like, if you think you can't hate your children, then you don't know what you're talking about, right? And it was kind of, you know, talking about stuff he's specializing in and knowing like the things that relate to that and how that can happen, like when a person can be so corrupted by that. But then, you know, nowadays there was his like second video on the war in Ukraine where he kept saying, you don't care about Ukraine. It's like, if you don't like, if Jordan said, I don't care about Ukraine, and whoever agrees with him, you know, could resonate with that, I had no problem. But that kind of projection, more or less like, I know that you're lying and you actually don't care. You don't know who, like, this is to millions of people. And I feel like there's a kind of equivalence in a way with saying something like, well, Jordan, you don't care about Elliot Page. Like you're doing that moral posturing just as much as you're claiming about people who say, I stand with Ukraine. Where do you get to the point to kind of judge and say, oh, but my moral posturing is okay because I care about, I don't know. I don't even know what the claim is about why his is okay and he's criticizing.
So yeah, so I've had some people point out that he's gone through a really rough couple of years and it seems to have changed him quite dramatically. And yeah, I also liked when he used to teach students like in the stuff that he's an expert in. And he's, well, I don't know if he's published much more of that stuff. That stuff's still online, so you can still go watch that. It's still good. But yeah, moral posturing to me seems not interesting as part of the reason why I lost interest in him. And he's been doing that for a while as well, the political moral posturing. So it's just, like literally too boring for me to pay attention to. So I don't know what he's been up to the last couple of months or the last couple of years. No clue. Pretty sure there's a lot wrong with it, but I don't know what, because I don't know.
So, do you guys remember a guy named Rush Limbaugh from the 80s? Or
Yeah.
he was horrible. He was super anti, like empathetic, super conservative, kind of offensive. And but all my leftist friends think that Jordan Peterson is Rush Limbaugh, and I'm wondering, is he the same? Has he become the same?
So one thing I'm thinking about it in that context, in a bit of a broader scope, is kind of like the thing that I took from both Vervaeke and from Jordan Peterson is this like notion that you really shouldn't expand your definition of deplorables too much, right? If like half of your country are deplorables, then like you're stuck in a situation where all your options are bad, right? And I think like the whole idea of being able to kind of step back and say, you know, maybe these guys are, let's say, backwards in my opinion. Maybe they're too violent, maybe they're too rude, maybe they're too crude. I don't know, a lot of things. Maybe they're narrow-sighted. I could have a lot of things. I could be wrong about a lot of them, but even within that conception, I can say, but maybe that's actually needed, right? Maybe those kinds of people have a place. And I feel like a lot of the kind of polarized political debate is much about like, we would be so much better off without them in the picture, right? If only there weren't any leftists, you know, us conservatives could finally rule. And it's like, I'm pretty sure, right, from historical references, that when that happens, things get really bad, right? That never tends to, I don't know. That's just stuff I'm thinking about in that context.
So we're talking about predictions. What do you predict in the culture war in the future, Schleff? Do you think things are going to get worse? Do you think things are going to be balanced? Do you think this is just like the continuous cycle that's always going on?
I'll answer that, but I also saw that Francois wanted to talk. So what did you want to say?
I actually like the question better than what I was going to say. So I
okay.
think it'll probably get worse. That's my prediction.
Well, my prediction, that's interesting. I think like 2023 is not when we'll see any prediction come to pass one way or another, and it's too short of a time scale. But I'll say this. Ever since I've managed to kind of realize those sorts of things about people, then I've been able to actually communicate and have meaningful conversations with people that I would never have been able to communicate with. I've become a lot more, I don't want to say exactly calm, but somewhat optimistic. I feel like in a way it's a direction where I can change. For instance, in my country, a very, very extreme right-wing party came to get a lot of mandates. And I talked just before the election with one of the, just a secretary that worked where I was working, and just, so she's not from my background. She's very different, but I managed to kind of get to a good place where we could talk, and she was considering who to vote for, and she thought about voting for that extreme party. And I asked her, well, but do you know like 1, 2, and 3? I mean, you know, vote who you want, whoever you want to vote for, but those things. And she was looking at me like, what? She had no, which is the common situation. Like people generally are very politically ignorant rather than having very clear, distinct ideas about who they're electing. And in a sense, it kind of shifted my focus from like the problem being that people have become kind of fascist and evil to no one on any part. I mean, it's not even sides of it. Like the political map here is very tribal. It's very different, but like no one on from any direction is actually trying to do the long-term groundwork with some kind of prospects of what you actually aim for. It's always kind of urgently, we need to somehow get more votes for the upcoming election. And well, I guess when I look at that, I know that like no party that could have actually convinced her to do something like more moderate even got to her. Like it's not about that she made an informed choice. Like there was very little effort to inform people. Everyone's just talking to their base. And I don't know if there will be if the things will be done to make this better, but it does seem to me like there are so many things that could be done. Right. So in that sense, I'm more optimistic that like the solutions are out there. It doesn't mean that people are going to actually do something. So
I was kind of wondering, is there always similar like perspectives, like right wing, left wing, or cultural narratives, but the actors just change over time? Yet it's always the same thing, and it's the illusion of history that things are different, or things are getting worse, or things are getting better.
Well, I'd like to hear everyone's answer, but my answer is
No, I'm kind of throwing that out. Yeah.
Well, like the nuances are everything. Like history does not repeat, like at all. That's my impression.
Tara?
Oh yeah, I think that there is some desire to have left and the right and forward, and somehow there is always pull one direction or the other direction. If talking about political parties, so it's a left, right, and science. So that's my view. Science is not in politics. I mean, a little bit, maybe if it's military financed, but I would not like to get into it due to my lack of knowledge and a lot of speculation. But generally, I was thinking if scientists would run the government, we would not have left and right. We would only have forward. So
didn't the Soviet Union try that?
They did, but and actually, like.
And you would have a better perspective on that, because in some ways things were better, right?
The things were better. Like I've suffered. My family suffered under Soviet, like especially at the beginning when they trying to reshape the structures that were there for formed in previous generations. But generally, there were some good ideas. For example, in Soviet Union, that idea that woman is different from man or worse than a guy or should be segregated, it did not exist. Women chose the fields they wanted to do, but if they wanted to be in a male-dominant field, they would. So my grandma, for example, she was a financial leader of a factory that produced innovative engines. And I never heard of this. Like when they thought, oh, women and men don't earn the same. Like how? Like why? And I could not understand it. Medicine was for free completely. So like we didn't need to worry about it. But I was a child. So to me, it seemed like everything is planned out. Then after it broke, it just started with a massive amount of personal dramas in people's life. That's how I seen the fall of Soviet Union. Like people, parents of kids I went to school with, I grew up with, those parents were depressed, beating children, and children were neglected massively. Like the whole class, there were no successful children. The whole class were just like massively, the whole class, 18 kids in class A, where I was going, and all of them were sad, uncared for, and that's when I learned what friendship is, because the kids were looking out for each other, and it was kids helping out other kids. And like I remember we were harboring a neighboring boy when his parents were fighting, and the parents were fighting because they lost jobs and they lost futures and everything. I do not know for sure all the reasons and why, and what's the situation financially or politically for the Soviet Union to fall. I only remember it from a perspective at the bottom of the hierarchy as a child, looking how the world changed. I don't, and because I know that my perspective is limited, I don't understand actually what Soviet Union completely was. Like I don't have the full picture because I was not adult. That's why I do not believe my idea about Soviet Union is accurate. Yeah.
You know what's interesting, and I was talking about how Karen Nodrik is going to break the fourth wall, but I'll come back to that. But like, you know, like even in a second ago, and even in this conversation, I found myself getting kind of radicalized into the ideas, the conversation. Yet through us able to have these conversations in these live streams and on Discord and whatnot, be able to talk to someone from another country, someone that lived in the Soviet Union, someone that lived in America, someone that lived in Canada or South Africa, and being able to hear their personal lived experiences helps you to overcome those like these intellectual narratives that were sold and that we buy into and get radicalized by and get emotionally invested in, and sort of see the truth. And like I had this talk the other day, I had this big realization, and this relates to, so like I had this, I said, you know, I one time I thought it was all science, and then I thought no, science is a subset of philosophy, and I thought then religion, and then I thought, you know what the truth of religion is connection with other people and your friends and your family, and relating on a personal interactive level to make the world a better place. And then my friend goes to me, my friend from church goes to me, yeah, that's what my friend Maggie's learning in grade 1 and 2. So I had to go through all this philosophical bullshit to come to that conclusion. And I feel that that's what you do, like in Line by Line, and even in these conversations, and even Schleif kind of related to me too, when he's talking about like, you know, relating to people on that personal level and like outside of these ideological frames, right?
Yeah. I wanted to also respond. I saw that Bazani was writing in the chat, scientists have no basis for aught. So I just want to say that I agree generally that I think there's a lot of hope that people are projecting to science, and I think I understand where it's coming from, and I understand what you mean, Kara. So I don't mean to be dismissive, but I do think that it's I don't know if to say naive or just kind of a false hope in a way, because science advances according to what, for instance, gets published, which is what's interesting, which is what people are going to read, which eventually all comes down to culture and society. So I think the notion that science is, for instance, like not left and not right, is very, you need to kind of be more accurate about it, because if you mean scientists are not politically aligned, that's not true. Like, you can really easily see like each of them is politically aligned, and on average you can see where they're aligned. I think in most countries it's like people with higher education are generally more left-leaning. You can make like explanations of that for whatever reasons, like maybe because of the amount of creativity it requires, and that's kind of a personal trait thing, like with the big five. But like I don't know. I've just heard some claims about that, but that's the statistics that I know. And I think that I'm personally kind of suspicious of things like not left, not right, forward, like you said. There's it always seems to me like, you know what? Let's not offer you anything. Let's just give you some like soothing bullshit and just hope that you vote for us so we could just have this seat in order to get some money and some power and stuff. So my notion, and it might be unpopular, is I think, personally, I have my political allegiance, and I think it's good that I would pursue that as much as I can, but respect the fact that, when the opposite opinion kind of rises up and is making good points, and even, sometimes getting their way, against mine, to understand that that's not a zero-sum game, right? And that sometimes that's better than what I was thinking should be done. And maybe I was, blind, or my side of the political map. Let's see. I'm reading Bazani's response now. Yeah, I agree. Bazani was writing that reducing moral decisions to utilitarian calculations done by AI will justify all manner of horror, which, yeah, I generally agree. I think utilitarianism, I think like AIs are not people, and like our moral ground is much more complicated than something you can algorithmatize and put in a formula. But maybe, like, I would like to hear you guys. I mean, I've been talking so much. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, we're on AI. I think I'll jump in. About AI not being people yet. Corporations legally are people, at least in the United States. So if a corporation can be a person, I think AI can be a person just as well. About utility calculations, I happen to have some background in operations research. And that's a discipline that was born in war. And the idea was that when it comes to strategic decision-making and problem solving at a military level, if you're fighting against another superpower, you want to be making the right decisions. And people thought, let's get the scientists to help. So they got physicists and mathematicians and statisticians to get directly involved in strategic planning and decision-making. And in Britain, it was called the Department of Operational Research. And I think in America, it became Operations Research. But so there's a whole field of similar to microeconomics, but somewhere in between microeconomics and industrial engineering. And it's about utility calculations for strategic societal decisions at the scale of war, or perhaps strategic corporate decisions, and sometimes much more operational decisions, product mixes, stuff that looks a lot more than like engineering decision making. It's basically applied mathematical optimization. And like the real art that, at least in the program I was in, focuses on is trying to translate very fuzzy, ill-defined real-world problems into mathematical models of the real-world problems. And there are a couple of elements in that, and I won't go into the detail now. It's not a time to give a lecture or anything. but there's some things that I find just keeping the broad framework in mind steers me away from just generally political discussions as not interesting discussions to have. Because one of the things you have to specify is what are the variables you have control over? What are your decision variables? What are your control variables? And in the case of political discussions, if you're talking about American politics, I have zero control over anything that happens in the United States. So I'm not going to be making a decision. It's an idle conversation that's literally for me going nowhere. And even in South Africa, I have a choice of a way to vote once every 5 years. And another, so that's a very simple decision variable. It's like one categorical variable with a bunch of possible values. I have to assign a value. And then there are the possible outcomes of my actual action. And chances are the outcome will be the same no matter what action I take. So for whatever party I vote, very likely the outcome of the election will be the same regardless of what I do. And so ultimately at a political level, the utility of discussing it, the information, like so operations researchers also calculate the economic value of information. The value of political information to me is calculable to very close to zero. And so I lose interest, I can't do anything. The thing Corey brought up about friends and family and community, there I can do things that have real impact. Like having a good conversation can bring me closer to someone, and calling someone I haven't spoken to in a long time can be good, and having a good meal together can be good. Doing someone a favor, taking care of someone, that's stuff I can do that I can really feel positive benefits or negative effects, and I can see the positive effects impacting other people. And so, yeah. But I kind of went on a tangent away from politics, and I wanted to do that, but I'm trying to remember. We were talking about science and politics. So generally, in the process of turning the ill-formed statement into a mathematical statement, there's a lot of room for saying. Oh, so one element that I didn't talk about, it would be the objective function, how different options would be evaluated. And I sort of alluded to some of the stuff I like saying about that by talking about Pareto efficiency, because usually in the real world, people care about several things. So if you want to do anything, there'll be several things that you can measure or that you can assess if you don't have measures, like subjectively assess, that you care about. And an easy example is if you're deciding what to eat, you might care about how tasty it is, which is a different concern for how expensive it is, which is a different concern for how healthy it is, which maybe is a different concern with how tasty your family think it is if you're sharing a meal, or your friends think it is, how convenient it is, maybe factored into cost or whatever. But so there are like several objectives, and generally science can't really prescribe how to weigh those objectives against each other. So you can build a mathematical model. There'll be some arbitrary weights to assign, or weights that science can't tell you how to assign. And thing is, like, religion can't really tell you how to assign those weights either, and neither can philosophy, and neither can your family, and neither can meditation. There's just this open problem that there is no real way to solve, other than just sort of taking a decision. And so from that angle, I have a little bit of sympathy for like postmodernists who say it all comes down to power. Like it's not that everything literally comes down to power, but when fights escalate, it often like boils down to, well, the person who is the strongest and wants it the most will take what they want. And like it's a blessing when it's not just a struggle of power and it's like a mutual compromise. And that happens surprisingly often. So I don't want to say it's like all power, but in terms of solution methods, yeah, I don't think Vervaeke in Neoplatonism with these mystical experience of the Neoplatonic one has a solution.
Can I jump in for a sec? Because
Yeah.
you had a really interesting point, and I wanted to elaborate on that, and something I've been thinking about a lot lately. So this thing about the weights, it's a very common problem, and I found that also in dialogues and discussions. So there's a lot that you can talk about with people when you see the same things as kind of granted. you can agree on some basis, and then you're like, maybe we should do this, or maybe we should do that, and you have really interesting, like, oh, that's insightful, something else. What I found recently, both in more contentious and less contentious discussions, both in real life and on the internet, is that you have some discussions where you get down to claims for obviousness, where someone says like, but it's obvious that it's this, and you're like, you don't see it, and you're saying, but it's obvious that it's not. I'll give an example. So, I have a friend who has he's kind of a prepper. He thinks that soon, there will be some terrible disaster, and he should have food. And I asked him, like, so how do you correct when you end up being wrong? And it's like, yeah, but I haven't been wrong. But I said, well, you thought that there will be a food crisis. You talked to me about that like a half a year ago, and that's why you were stocking up food, and you were saying that I should too. And then he said, but look, the food prices have gone up. So that's not what you said. And then he said, yeah, but it's still in the process. I mean, it's still coming. And I'm like, there's something about this conversation like that he can see the things that he sees as relevant are so different from the things that I see as relevant. And I was just wondering, like, how does one proceed from there? Like, is there anything that can be done to bridge that, or is that like just the bedrock of conversation? Just because it's related to those weights, right? It's the same thing. When you see that as relevant, like when you're searching for truth, you also give weight to different types of evidence and what do they mean and everything. So
yeah, there's an analogy there. I like the splitting in decision analysis between sort of a probabilistic model of consequences of actions and an objective function that evaluates consequences. There's choice involved in modeling it like that, and there's some assumptions that can be questions in those choices, as with all mathematical models and philosophical moves for that matter. So I think it's a little different, the problem of agreeing on models of consequences than agreeing on models of value. There's some ambiguity that can be difficult to resolve in both cases, and yeah, the mathematics can look pretty similar in terms of assigning weights to. And then on an interpersonal level, I find it really difficult to talk to people. Like, if someone isn't willing to admit that they may be wrong in principle, and not willing to specify what sort of evidence they would accept as proving them wrong, I kind of give up on convincing them that they're wrong. I find that trying to convince someone that they're wrong, if they're too stubborn to be convinced, is just an unpleasant exercise. Sometimes it can be amusing. I've had fun, but like mostly just frustrating. So I try not to have those conversations. I talk about something else and often the same people will be quite close-minded and stubborn about some things and much more open-minded about other things. And I've recently learned that it has oftentimes to do with traumas. So like and people can associate odd things with traumatic experiences. And whenever they get triggered, which is a technical term I also recently learned, I thought it was just a political thing. And they can enter quite an intense emotional state of fear. And people under intense fear, the brain operates differently. Like they become more narrow-minded, they become less creative, less likely to learn, so more reactive in habitual senses. So they do the same thing they've always done. So if this person is prepping from a place of being traumatized by something, and whenever they think about the prepping, they're going into that traumatic fear mental space. If you want to talk to them, it probably takes some professional skill to get them emotionally in the right frame of mind first, to be able to, about that topic, have an open-minded discussion. But that same person who's closed-minded about that thing may be very open-minded about some things where other people might be less open-minded.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I guess I should also have clarified, like, this was the less contentious discussion because he's a guy, like, he makes like very out of this world claims a lot of the times, but generally conversation with him are pleasant because he's generally open-minded, and he's willing and has, admitted even around those things, about being wrong in certain places, and about kind of, he was willing to go, let's say, beyond the surface level of I'm right and you're wrong, but like, how do you make predictions, and how do you think you could correct for biases and stuff like that? That's why I felt like that was a really kind of sharp example of like, there's mutual intention to get to the bottom of things in the conversation, and still, you get to this point where, like, I don't have any claim to say about that. I can't see the way he does, right? Like, maybe if things just popped out to me like they do to him, maybe I would be just as paranoid and getting food and stocking it in basements. I don't know. So it's just like, reaching that kind of made me think a lot about the limit of that, even in goodwill participation.
So we've been talking about like predictions and stuff. So Franz, do you feel that the problem with predictions is trying to find the objective truth of a prediction, or being able to predict it? Do you think that's even possible? And do you think the objective kind of like way of looking at it, like through technical or mathematical models, is the way to go?
I don't know that I would describe that as the problem. I mean, I've said a bunch of silly things that probably fairly high confidence say at the end of this year I was objectively wrong about. And mathematics, I think, can be useful exercises. Like, I've been trained in mathematical decision modeling, and I rarely bother creating any mathematical decision models in real life. But I do think the training helps to sort of disciplined thinking in a particular way, and to know what sort of questions are very important to have good answers to. So people can talk a lot about things that in a mathematical model would only go to the probabilistic model of outcomes, and they never discuss any of the objective function stuff. And so people may be disagreeing about what the possible outcomes are, or what the likelihood of different outcomes are, where that piece of information may be much less important than they fundamentally have different objectives. And so maybe they shouldn't even be working together at all on anything. Like, they're wasting time talking about something that's completely irrelevant because their objectives don't match up. But they don't talk about their objectives. They talk about consequences or future events. Sometimes the consequences are the really important things. So it's just nice to have, if you're going to do a Markov decision process model, there's a state transition function, there's a reward function.
So do you think it comes down to
variables.
The important thing is in relating and making sure, as opposed to looking for what the probabilistic outcome is going to be, aligning with people that have similar values?
Don't even necessarily need similar values. I really like the framework of interest-based negotiation, where both parties are upfront and honest about what their interests are. And you can do a combined objective function, even if the objective functions aren't the same. They don't have to be the same. Like, we could want different things, and we can still get on each other's team and work together to get both of us what we want. A cooperation doesn't require us to want the same things. It can happen, though, that we want contradictory things, and it does happen. And sometimes we can agree on all the facts, and we can agree on all the predictions, and we can be equally right or equally wrong, and still we want contradictory things. And at that point, it's a matter of either conflict or compromise. People sometimes end up in that situation, and they have where they're not agreed about, say, their predictions or their view of what the facts are, and so they end up talking about that, but they don't get to the fact they actually want different things. And yeah, in business analysis, a very important part of the job is for the analyst to get the requirements of the client and to translate the requirements into the people doing the development on business side. In engineering, getting functional requirements is a very important part of the job. So in negotiation, getting the interests of all the parties to the negotiation is a very important job. In decision analysis, specifying the objectives of the decision maker is a very important part of the job. in education, outcomes-based education was a thing in South Africa. I don't know if it was in other countries. Specifying the objectives of different course materials is a very important part of the job of designing course material. And so like there's a bunch of different disciplines in which, without necessarily making any claims to being university true statements of value, having statements of value, like clear, this is what we want, this is what our objectives are, and who knows, maybe God would want something different, but this is what we want, is just very important to talk about. And it can be really difficult to talk about, especially when that exact conversation makes it clear the way in which we want mutually contradictory things, and makes the conflict just really stand out to people in a way that can be emotionally painful to become aware of. I'm sorry, I'm ranting a little bit. Stay quiet.
No, it was good. It was good. I liked everything you had to say, Fred. I always appreciate your input.
I like that the mathematical intuition helps to generate real life communications intuition. I think that's where generally that interface works best. Like there's a constant back and forth between map and territory in a way.
Yeah, so there's a specific decision analyst called Ralph Keeney who articulated an idea he called valued focused thinking, which I really like. And he's basically saying that when people make decisions, they often spend a lot of time thinking about alternatives and thinking about outcomes. So a very common mistake is to not spend enough time talking about the values that people are pursuing. And it's in the realm of decision analysis. The analogous framework in negotiation is interest-based negotiation, where it's start with what it is you want. And like once that discussion is done, then you can go look for alternatives knowing what you're looking for. You can even design creative alternatives that meet your desires in ways that existing alternatives don't necessarily do. And you can cooperate with other people who you know where you stand with them. So I really like that. And the way he describes it is in his book, Valued Focused Thinking, there's almost no math. It's just, there are a couple of diagrams to try to make the idea seem clear. And the math can get really hairy, like preference modeling can get, because human preferences are complicated, it often gets down to sort of n-array relations, and the algebra of n-array relations is a nightmare to do proofs in. So that's way beyond most people's mathematical skills. So it's beyond my mathematical skills, to be honest.
So when you think about why people do that, why they don't talk about specifically what they want and they focus on alternatives and outcomes, would that resonate in your view with John Vervaeke's idea of bullshit, where you have this kind of situation where those things are made like hyper relevant? Let's say if you're sold on look at how this would have amazing outcomes, and look at how this alternative would be terrible, right? And those things really, you know, are sold to you like advertisements. It's so important, and then you're kind of, it's, to me, like the example that stands out is like lottery. So you think, you know, look at how amazing, you know, money is, and you'll have a lot of it. And like, do I want to win the lottery? Like, is that a part of an objective that I have? And right, have I actually thought about what that would make me? Right, what kind of things would happen in my life because now I've suddenly come to immense wealth, and like all of the effects that go with that. I don't know, I might have skewed a little. So the main question is, like I said, whether this lack of thoughts about the objective is related to kind of this murky thinking that goes along with advertisement bullshit.
I don't know. I think that could be one of the things that plays a role, the salience of that. Something that I have a suspicion plays a role is just the amount of social influence people can get by establishing themselves as the authority on what is of value. So in the context of reinforcement learning, the popular textbooks, Sutton and I forget the other person's name now, in the opening chapter, they said like one of the most important lessons is just how much you can change the behavior of an artificial intelligence agent by changing its objective function, its value function. And so at a social level, if you're the person in charge of a company's value statement, to the degree that those value statements actually gets translated to corporate culture, which often it doesn't. But if you can move that value statement, you can move what the company does in a very powerful way. And so I think there's some of that, just the power that comes from being the authority on value that attracts people to try to acquire that authority and speak as that authority. To be fair, some people actually point to like sacred objects as sources of that authority. So there's some religious communities that would point to the Bible as, or some other sacred text as the authority. What that happens then often is, because sacred texts often make contradictory claims, is then there'll be an authority on interpreting the sacred text who then has the power to move people socially, because they become the authority on value. And some ethics professors like to establish themselves as experts on ethics and value, and people should listen to them. And it's a lot of what the moral posturing in political dialogue is about. It's people trying to establish themselves on the authority of what's right, and hence why they should be voted for to be in charge of the country, or at least they should be listened to about who to vote for to be in charge of the country. And at the level of people who have a lot of influence in the media, their objective functions and say my objective functions are not aligned in a way where there seems to be much space for cooperation. Like I don't understand what in the world would motivate Jordan Peterson to consider my well-being when he decides what to tweet. Like, he doesn't know who I am. He spends zero time trying to think about my values and how to live my life. And yeah, so why should that be useful to me to take his advice? There was a time when he used to help specific clients as a clinical psychology, and he saw patterns in problems and sort of patterns in solutions, and he could talk about that, and he spoke to students, and he had some interesting things to say on that front. So I took it back to Jordan Peterson. I regret doing that. What was your original question that I gave a long rambling answer to?
No, your answer is really interesting. What I was thinking about, and I'll try to kind of re-ask the question, but also reframe it to go better towards where I'm trying to make it more precise. So what I'm thinking about is, when I was teaching private lessons to students, and let's say from elementary school to high school ages, an interesting thing that I found is quite a bit of them were kind of were either like, yeah, I want to get a good grade in this, or another would be like, my parents make me come here to this. It was kind of a center where you would give a lot of private lessons to a lot of kids, and they had a place to do their homework. They're making me come here, and I'm just I'm not even interested. Let's just get the lesson done with. And I found that generally as a trend, like this disinterested approach, and I think it generalizes. So a lot of people are kind of disinterested and kind of just trying to get by. What I would ask them, and I'm still curious about, is like, yeah, but what are you interested in? Like, you may be not interested in this subject, fine, but are you interested in something? Do you have any kind of passion? Do you have anything to drive you towards? And like, a lot of both my own classmates and the students that I had taught, were very reluctant, at least towards me, to give any kind of answer to that, which kind of makes me, go back to experiments in conformity and all of those things. Like, I think that a lot of people in a lot of subjects, what you're saying, it resonates with what you're saying about being the person who decides what's valuable, because I think that maybe for a lot of people, what's valuable is the conformity to whatever someone else decides is valuable and would kind of let them off the hook. So I guess the question I'm interested in exploring is when you have a system that has such an amount of confusion about its objective functions, like you say, about what people want, that whether the solution or some solution has to happen, at the individual level, where people have to actually confront what it is they want, or maybe it's something that that lies elsewhere.
I have thoughts. I want to give some space for other people.
So I would like to say something brief, and then I definitely want to hear what Kara has to say, because I'm, always intrigued. But like the interest thing was really interesting, and that's relating. And what Franz was saying about like the values or objectives of an organization or of individuals, and whether they're in alignment with each other, and then what a person's interested in, right? And like so, like I was thinking, I'm really thinking about like as opposed to like pursuing what is like objectively true or probabilistically possible, like what are you interested in happening, what are the outcomes you're interested in happening, and relating to other people that want the same potentials or the same values realized in the world is kind of the question that I'm kind of wondering about. Was that obtuse?
I thought we're waiting for Kara.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Respond. That was my impression.
What do you think, Kara?
It's hard for me to identify because I lost track of the question, because my brain went into a weird tangent and a future conversation that I will have tomorrow, while putting on a YouTube face. I actually was like with my mind wandering about human things and people going out and what I can do to inspire people. I did put out videos on YouTube on how to go out, but what will people do? Look at my YouTube and like, people, please go out. Here is a tree. I'm touching a tree, and they're like, like let us change into a gaming. Oh, a guy watching a video game of a simulated tree. And it's so cool. We can touch tree in a video game just with our eyes. It's like, well, how about other actual trees? And like, that's boring. Like, how dare you to advise us to go out?
But look at the graphics on this tree. It looks so real.
Yeah, and I can smell the tree and feel the texture. I was like, but you don't get it. There is actually a glove that you can put on. It's a rubber glove with a receptor. It makes you feel parts of the surface of the tree. It's just in project. How about smell? Well, there is a mask that you can put on. They can actually kind of simulate the smell. I was like, it's just like, people just go out. Like, can you just put the energy into cleaning up the nature and going out? No, it's way easier if we are doing it from home. And I was thinking, is it safety, convenience, that you can have everything in the spot? Will we turn into people who sit in the chair like in WALL-E? Guys, like in WALL-E, there were just like people, Nerdalliun. I will show you later. So there were people sitting in a chair and drinking some food shakes out of the glass with straws, and then somebody sent me some friend sent me a video of like people going through Walmart on kind of like those chairs, and they can walk. It's just more convenient on those kind of tiny scooters. So yeah, everything is very convenient. Everything is spoon-fed. Somebody today in the comment section predicted that we will be reading books, like paper books, and I thought like, it's faster if there will be more channels reading books to other people. But I am actually sure pretty soon AI will be reading books with voices, and like, not like, hear me out. It will be imitating Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson specifically. Now I'm shaking my head because my mom already for like a couple of months has a habit of listening to audiobooks read by AI.
I mean, I'm talking a bit more.
You know what they need?
Like, you can tell that it's AI, Nerdalliun. But what if you can actually order a voice? I want my book to be read by Lawrence Krauss. I just like, I like his speech. Like, there is some little things in his speech that kind of like, like I can hear New Yorker in there. Like, so I want him precisely to have a discussion, but the female voice should be, and then I will pick the voice. And then I think I will have it Helena Bonham Carter. Yeah, Lawrence Krauss, Helena Bonham Carter, and then who else? Oh, Alec Baldwin. Yeah, let's have this trio and let them read me Gormenghast. A Castle of Gormenghast. Yeah, read me that book.
Or how about I miss my mom when I was a child? I want my mom to read me a book.
But okay, personal and feeling story aside, we can give AI a recording of the voice of the loved one, and the AI will be able to simulate it to the like, if it's an hour recording. And that's what I see in the future. Maybe not in 2023. Yes, AI can voice actually this ovulation channel that I keep advertising. The entire videos read by AI in there, all of them. And the reason why AI reads it and not her, because she has a strong accent. And she cannot put out, like, she thinks that people will trust more an AI voice talking about, here is an ovulation, an egg goes through that, like, and that voice, rather than hers with accent. Yeah. But I actually am seeing the future, but it will be like deep fake voice AI reading it. And we can tell what voice it is. And
so you predict the AI will be successful? Oh, so yeah. Mark Lefebvre believes that AI will be unsuccessful. That we will never achieve AI.
I mean, define, like, okay, I don't know what is the definition of success according to Mark. Like, does he mean will AI reach singularity?
He doesn't really believe that he thinks AI is not even going to be a thing.
Yeah, I can maybe clarify, because I think I've spoken to Mark and I think.
Shut out, Mark.
Yeah. Specifically about
Go
that.
Navigating Patterns.
Yeah.
So
when we were watching the video by Jordan Peterson talking with Jonathan Pajot moderating about AI. And I think this is also convergent with what Vervaeke usually talks about, except for one time when he was a bit kind of saying, "Oh, in 10 years AI will come and we must be prepared," which was kind of off character from him. But there's a difference between. I think it's very reasonable that what Kara is saying will happen, and I don't think Mark would object to that. Right, having a voice that could sound like whatever optimization we want it to sound like is probably within the realm of AI, and I don't see any like really big hurdle, but maybe there would be. I don't think I think it's reasonable. The thing where AI, where Mark thinks it wouldn't happen, I agree with Mark, and well, I'll say my opinion, and Mark can say whether he agrees with. He thinks that it represents his as well as what's called AGI, artificial general intelligence, which is something that you would let So you can teach an eye to play chess, but you can't like put an eye in front of whatever stuff there is in the universe and let him decide, ooh, maybe I want to play chess, right? That's so the kind of that's just a mock example, but the general thing is framing is hard. Like framing a problem is the part that is really hard for AI to do. Like what's relevant, what's not relevant. And at the moment, that's something that's done by humans one way or another, whether it's by setting the conditions, like this is the data that you receive, right? Maybe it's pre-processed, or by the optimization process itself, because whether it's supervised or unsupervised, someone has to decide eventually, oh, is this AI good? And that's people, and it basically is a confirmation that, oh, you framed it right, good AI. So I think like the point is that AI won't become, at least like as far as we can see in the near term, anything like what we see people able to do in being able to deal with ill-defined problems, with bad framing, with having to really understand by itself what's relevant, what's not.
So I heard an interesting thing that was talking about AIs that kind of related to what Franz was saying earlier, where governments will end up competing, where their AI will be against other governments' economic AIs, et cetera, and then Google's AI is going to have a strategy. And then Elon Musk was saying that he wants to come up with personalized AIs for people to defend themselves from these other AIs that are trying to manipulate them. Like that just becomes Byzantine.
So to keep it like the very general, and I think this is relevant to personal life too. I think part of the conservative kind of political position is that people are generally quite bad at the framing problem too, and that people are much better off conforming to frames that have evolved culturally over thousands of years and have been around and have shown to stand the test of time. So you kind of get a frame handed to you, and you use that rather than to come up with your own frames. And you sort of have to figure out how that frame applies in your life, and that's maybe an easier problem than coming up with a frame from scratch. And that relates a little bit to the earlier discussion about are people sort of just conforming, and is that a valid strategy? And I think for a lot of people, they get by with sort of having frames handed down to them from their culture, whether it be the educational institutions or the religious institutions or the political institutions or their parents or whoever was most influential on them. I kind of just running with that frame and not bothering even really trying to think of alternative frames and new frames, or trying to evaluate the frame itself, just sort of taking the frame for granted. I think that's what most people do. And so AIs can be taught to do that too. And I think like AI that can actually solve the frame problem wouldn't be general intelligence, that would be super intelligence compared to most humans. Maybe all humans.
Well, I think the problem is a bit. I'm sorry, Corey. You wanted to say something?
I just wanted that. I was kind of thinking, do you think that's possible, friends? Or?
Possible, yeah. I'd say with fairly high confidence, I think it's possible. Yeah, not necessarily solve in an absolute sense. But then I don't think any religion solves it in an absolute sense. I don't think any political ideology solves it in an absolute sense. So like if once a person becomes used to doing multi-objective optimization, when it sort of becomes used to the fact that the problem is intractable, and so any solution is an approximate solution that's better than other candidate solutions, so you're doing like relatively better than other alternatives. Yeah, I think AI can be built to do relatively better than anything humans have come up with so far.
So if we go back, I'm still skeptical, so it might be interesting to go down that path. Unless, right? I feel like I'm hogging conversation. So if this is boring, let's just.
So yeah, I'm gonna have to leave shortly. So Nodrik and I have a couple predictions that I'm wondering about. So, Nodrik and Franz, do you think we'll have fun on line by line 100?
Yes. Yes. It will be a very special episode. I'm trying to get EM in the room.
Now, I don't know if
That'd be
Schleif has
nice.
ever done a line by line. Do you predict that Schleif will do a line by line?
He did.
Oh.
We
I'll
did.
have
We
to
talked
check that
about
out.
narcissism and
Oh,
abusive
fascinating.
relationships.
Schleif, what's the chance of you doing another line by line?
I think that it will happen. It's just a question of when and which song it will be on.
And do you guys predict that I'll be able to find a louder shirt for the next time?
I can predict that. Also, you can wear that shirt as well.
I think you should ask Jordan Peterson to give you something to wear.
Come on, it's
What material should I get? What will be the loudest material?
Velvet.
Oh, velvet. Yeah.
Yeah, velvet is the loudest material, and it's also fluffy. It's also like teddy bear, but it's also a royalty thing. I'm trying to get rid of my speech impartment.
And then my final party note, I predict that I will have a wonderful conversation with all you in the near future, and I look forward to it. So I'll see you guys later.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Hold on. I just want to appreciate one thing. 3 musicians in the room. 2 drummers and a keyboard player.
You're a musician?
I'm a drummer. I have a band.
You're a drummer.
Well,
we'll have to all do something virtual, but like, yeah, that'd be fun.
Awesome.
Okay, I'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, not so successful.
That's how you leave. Guys, last week, when we had nonviolent communication reading, I by accident gave moderator rights to a sex spam bot. I wanted to delete it and I made it a moderator. Right there on stream. It was hilarious. So I wanted to a bit think how to take this direction into humorous prediction, but it did get serious, like a couple of times with the military. Unfortunately, it's hard to joke about difficult situations, even though I really, really want to. That comedic thing. So, Nerdalliun, Gilad, do you guys have an idea on how to cope with drama? Because that's the big question I'm trying to solve, actually. And my prediction for Kara Nodrik is to get nearer to ways of healing people's differences. Oh my God, like I would like to be able to heal the people who fight with each other. The level of lack of self-awareness in that.
I wouldn't say it's lack of self-awareness specifically.
I mean, I'm like literally, personally, Gilad, I mean, I'm trying to not to fight with anyone.
It might be other stuff. I'm just saying, it seems like you're pretty self-aware about how, that kind of goal is fantastical and unachievable. So, you could say a lot about it, but I wouldn't say lack of self-awareness.
Wishful thinking?
Yeah. I mean, I don't mean to be crude, but
no, I do appreciate honesty. I actually do appreciate not telling things in the most positive kind way, but in order for me to understand the situation. I would really like clear messages.
Just to be clear, I mean, and we've talked about it before, I do think that the world is inherently chaotic. I think there's enough chaotic systems in play, like that you can really mathematically show that are very chaotic. So to say that you don't have any influence would be hubristic, right? So I really think you should do whatever you can, like the best that you can for whatever you feel is more important, and hope for the best because of how chaotic the world is. So that's I'm not saying that, like, oh, you have no power to do anything, Kara. I'm saying, yeah, it's wishful thinking, but if this is what you find most important and you feel like you can, move that decimal point, that 34th decimal point a bit in the right direction, then, like, well, why not? I mean, it's what you feel that you want to do. So I think a lot of good things have been achieved this way throughout history. So also a lot of bad things, I guess, but I'm saying it's valid. That's all I'm saying.
I think in chapter 2 of nonviolent communication, there's, I don't know if it's chapter 2 or chapter 1, where it says you can't make anyone do anything.
Chapter 1. I remember that. And if you will make a person to do something, that person will retaliate and you will regret it. It's like, it's that idea, if I would find alliance, people, like-minded people who seek solutions in the same kind of direction I do. So, but everybody has different viewpoints, different minds. So it's like better perception of reality if more people, more eyes are watching somehow. If it makes sense.
I agree that the better perception of reality comes with having more than just yourself.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can go awry and you'd have groupthink and an echo chamber. But I think that relates to also what I'm trying to say about that is you can't and you shouldn't just go to people and manipulate them, whether directly or indirectly into thinking about the world the way that you do. I think that's generally both a bad idea and not likely to work. But I think, like, from pretty much the dawn of philosophy, it's a question about why ever do anything, or what even makes us compelled to truth in any case. And I think it's a good idea to approach the world with the notion that there is an inherent good in becoming closer to truth and goodness, and trying to connect with people in a way that improves both you and other people. Maybe you don't know how to do that, and maybe you don't know what they will be and what you will be. And it's also dangerous, right? You can't just do that with anyone, because people can just abuse your trust and hurt you. But if you manage to, I think it's a really good goal to strive for. And yeah.
How about forgiveness? So, I mean, the problem I'm trying, like, let's say the answer I'm seeking is how to feel people's differences. So let's say there is a group of people that hates another group, and they have all the legitimate reasons, like it's actually true reasons. The other group has their own reasons. And how to mitigate that, how to make an individual see another person not as part of that group ideology bubble, like different tribe, but an individual see an individual. So
I think the first question you have to ask is whether that really is the right way to look at them. I mean, I don't think it's I don't think you're generally wrong, but I think it's more complicated. I don't think we can always look at every person individually. So I know that that's the way like that you're striving towards, and I think it really is the right way in a lot of cases, but maybe the people that you want to convince that should show forgiveness have something to teach you.
Can I give an example?
You asked me to give an example?
Yes, I would like to give an example because I'm trying to explain what do I mean. So an example of that, there was a trench. There was a viral Twitter video. So a drone was throwing grenades into a young soldier, about 19 years old. The caption above the video, "We got him, guys." So a drone throws grenades into a young soldier. A boy catches, he catches them with the hand and throws them away, one after the other. He just keeps catching them and throwing them away. They explode not far away. So eventually he dies of internal bleeding. He already cannot catch them, so the internal bleeding from all the shakes is already extensive, so the soldier dies. And that idea that he is on one side of he's the enemy, he's not a person who is he's not 20-year-old boy, he is an enemy. I am my family is in Ukraine. I'm Ukrainian. I grew up in Ukraine. I was not born there, but I did grow up in Ukraine. And my family lost a lot last year. In 2022 was actually by the end, at Christmas. So they are refugees now. And they did not come there. They were never pro-Russians. It took me a lot of personal strength not to hate Russians, a lot. And when I see such videos, I actually feel massive amounts of compassion, and I cannot understand how somebody would look at that and be like, "We got him, guys." That's execution of a person. I understand everything is allowed at war. But how many people will just be demoralized, PTSD, completely psychologically destroyed on both sides, and how to heal that? So I'm trying, it's not always right to look at them not as people. I actually believe that people should look at others exactly as people, not a Russian boy, person. So I don't know, maybe it's
so
maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. I'll give you another example. So this is from, because I'm trying to learn French. I watch a bunch of French stuff. I don't know all that much about French, but this is just the example. I think there's a documentary on Netflix called Attack on Paris or Attack on France or something. And it's about a group of terrorists who shot and killed a bunch of people on a night of football matches in Paris or whatever. But so they attacked different venues. One was a nightclub, and they sort of just gunned people down with machine guns in the nightclub. And the police officers who responded to that, at one point, there was a police officer who had to make the decision whether or not to shoot one of the terrorists who had a bomb strapped to his chest. And he was a threat to more civilians to go and explode them. And in the moment making that decision, the cop was thinking, if I don't shoot this threat, those people will die. And so in that moment, saving civilians' lives from a terrorist, it doesn't make too much sense to feel pity for the boy. It is a boy. It's some kind of traumatized, mentally ill boy. But when it's a decision between saving other innocent people's lives or not, and feeling sorry for the boy and not shooting him isn't really an option. The police basically said there was no choice. That's just you shoot the terrorist. And so in between the very clear case, you just shoot the terrorist and you feel sorry for the soldier boy who's in a bad position. There's all kinds of very complicated situations where sometimes the humanity bleeds through partially, sometimes the humanity is completely lost. I don't think there are any easy answers for just, it's always your brother and you treat them like your brother. I know sometimes it's a terrorist you shoot.
I agree.
What makes people divide into those groups? Why? Why did somebody have to become a terrorist? Like, what happened to that person?
Can I just ask before we continue that? Can I ask you a question, Tara?
Mm-hmm.
So, when you were listening to Francois, do you think there's something that was it trivial for you and not the point, or do you feel it's something that you have something to learn from, or so where do you stand on that?
Well, in case of a mentally ill person who comes with a bomb strapped to the chest and a policeman making a decision, yeah, policeman is right. The case of destroying an enemy on a territory, in a world where people would see each other as people, wars would be done on a different level. One thing is a mentally ill person with a bomb. Way other actually not mentally ill people, regular people with hopes, dreams, musicians, sent to kill each other. So I understand Francois' point of view. What I'm trying to aim at, I agree. Like, yes. Also, with the mentally ill person and a bomb at the chest, is there a way to design a weapon that stuns a person? Like, do we really need to shoot people in the head? I understand it's easy and like all the weapons already issued. But can there be like adjustment to weapons or something? Can the pistols be remodeled?
There are enough non-lethal weapons, but they're not. Right, you need to have the proper. You need to have the proper situation to use it, and there are a lot of reasons why, it's complicated. So, for instance, if you want to have a weapon that stuns, and you have a terrorist that just puts on
what creates
a bulletproof vest, then that terrorist would be able to kill more civilians. I mean, at the end of the day, you do get to a point where you have to make your preferences, right? If one side, if let's say the side that's on the police side is saying, no matter what, we don't want to kill people, or we will invest immense resources in not killing people that are terrorists that have killed and will kill more civilians, then more civilians will die. That really is, like, I think Francois, you would agree with me, right?
In a current society, that's the only option. There will be created. So it's like, what must happen to a person to do that? It's actually like, imagine that journey.
I think that there's different framings that you can look at that. problem with. And one framing is, I think, more correlated with people on the left is something similar to what you're saying. Like, how can we make people not get to the point where they want to become terrorists? And there's a framing that says, no matter what you do, there will be people who will want to be, evil in one way or another and monstrous, and you have to have some sort of like that. Anything that would think that you can just eradicate that completely is very naive. And I think
I don't believe
both are
it's
useful.
possible. I mean, I don't believe, like, the truth is in the middle. It's not on left or like, it's impossible to eradicate it. I am aware of this. Also, let's say keeping them alive is also expensive in the jail, like just a practical solution. I know it's maybe not funny, but it's a big cost.
I want to challenge you about, I hope I'm not being insensitive, or I understand that this is personal for you, and I want to be respectful to that, but I do want to be able to talk about this in a way that maybe could promote us towards truth. So when you look at the framing and you say it's war, killing enemy on territory, that's a kind of framing where you presuppose that kind of war and territory are superfluous words, and the main thing is human taking human lives, and human lives are what matters. So I want to challenge you and say, what if this were the Holocaust, right? What if this were a situation when you have someone who's really trying to methodically kill millions of people because they think that these people don't deserve to exist and should be wiped out like insects? So there is a limit where you say war is the only option, right? Negotiating with the Third Reich would have been terrible for the world. That's my honest opinion, right? They were beyond redemption. They had to lose, right? That was the only option. The world that doesn't believe in the methodical eradication of an entire ethnic or religious group and everyone, right, had to just win that war. And that meant, killing a lot of people, basically. So I'm just trying to show you the kind of ways of thinking that make this, that people that you struggle communicating with might have. I'm not saying that this war is like the Holocaust.
Okay, I get it, Gilad. I get the point. That's why I was talking about not left, not right, but forward. I'm not talking about scientists themselves, but the idea of change, about exploration. Left and right are the sides. And like scientists either on the left or like, it's not what I'm talking about completely. War already happened, and it happened and it taught us a lot of lessons. Precisely one of them, it should not be repeated. And what if there is a situation where the war actually gets repeated? We have, let's say, another dictator who goes into those steps with the idea that should be, like, I get it. What if the history repeats itself? Should we repeat the solution? Yes, like if the history with the Holocaust happens and the solution that was implemented in the past worked, we can do it. Is it the same thing though right now? Like, I understand, like, it's a different war and in a different era, actually. Should we use the methods done long ago? Are we like stayed with the technological era and access to information and the internet and all of those technological advances? Do we still need to use same methods?
Well, I think like Francois says, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the first question is, what is your objective? If you ask what should we do? And I think we can agree that the objective is that at the end of this, as many people as possible live with dignity and freedom. And there are some things to kind of clarify about what that means and what compromises, could be made and what's the weight of every one of those demands. But, I think I don't know, but I think most people would agree that if your objective is just save lives today at any cost, stop the war by just stopping to shoot, and then you would give in to become, either slaves, I don't know, something like, if that were the trade-off, right, that you would have to lose everything because you save lives today, and then, I don't know, tomorrow you would lose twice as many lives, or something like that, that's not viable, right? Once you know what your objective is, what is it that would count as the best scenario given the realistic interpretation, then you can ask what's the best method to reach that. And I think, like Francois said, that's where a lot of conflicts are, without even explicating that, because maybe your objective is a bit different from the objective of people that you struggle communicating with, people who are more, viewing this as ally and enemy.
Yes. So one way to think about this, like legally, I said earlier, in America, corporations are treated as persons, and on the world stage, where wars are fought, nations are treated more or less as persons, and wars are fought over the interests of nations that are much more abstract than the needs of the individual people who fight the wars. So a classical metaphor is to think of the nation as a human body and individual people as cells in the body. And at the level of national foreign policy, decisions are made, well, do we cut out this cancer in order to further the health of the nation? So like individual cells will often make sense to, or individual people from a national point of view would often make sense to sacrifice for the good of the whole nation, in a way similar to how it sometimes makes sense for people to amputate limbs that have gangrene in them, or to get into, even individuals maybe to get into fights with like violent altercations when reasoning isn't an option. Like sometimes with animals, reasoning isn't an option, so sometimes you shoot the bear, or you don't try to think of the bear as a person. Although sometimes bears can be sort of non-violently, in an emotional way, be dealt with. And that's preferable when it's possible. It's not always possible. But the point is, yeah, at national interest level, things, there are like forces at play that just go way beyond, let's just think about people as people. And those forces are historical forces that have been in the making for literally thousands of years. And not a simple matter to just find a solution to change the course of that. In fact, a lot of wars are exactly born of people who decide, no, history's been going the wrong way and we need to change the direction history's going, and then make history go a different direction. So yeah, history books are often filled with wars, because like nations are the very influential entities in the world that change things. And often the big changes happen in violent conflicts. Like, as bad as they were, the 2 world wars were like just times of scientific boom because of how much money, research, and urgency was thrown into scientific research. A lot of medical breakthroughs were made in World War I specifically, I remember. I think probably in World War II also. Lots of advances in vehicles and logistics. organizational sciences and all kinds of things, sort of thanks to war, as bad as that is to say.
I heard that, yeah, that's the case.
And so like we have lots of privileges that we wouldn't have if it wasn't for the war. There's a lot of people who lost their lives because of the war, so it gets really tricky. And I come back to the things the things I as an individual can do will not change the course of nations. And if you want to have a little bit of be humble, think of how difficult your conversation tomorrow is going to be and how much simpler that is than war.
Yeah. The more I think about it, the less I see a way out. And I feel like there are many people who feel like they cannot change anything. They feel helpless, so they live their life, and no changes ever come. And then I think about charismatic leaders and personalities that they create in order to attract as much to capture the audience with their shocking ideas. I feel like I am not at the liberty to do that. So somehow I know how to do it, but I don't like it. Don't like that idea.
I think
go
even at that,
into rooms and destroy and like have this shock personality.
I think even at that level, like there are forces at work that it's very difficult for individuals to resist. Like if you'd expect anyone to not become the kind of media personality Jordan Peterson has been to, you'd sort of back Jordan Peterson to not go that direction, and yet he ended up going that direction. Like it's people. We're in the same position. Like we only have so many options. So you kind of try to navigate the best option that you actually have, the best thing you actually can do, you try to do. And oftentimes from the position of nobodies, like we have no clue what the real options for those in power really are. And so we see them make decisions and we think, oh, that was a terrible decision because they could obviously done better, not knowing that the thing that in our mind is obviously better is not possible, even almost. And so among the things that are actually possible, the thing that maybe the people in power did were among the better options, probably not the best, because probably nobody ever does the best. But yeah, I think it's more fruitful to try to give good advice to oneself than try to give good advice to media personalities or to politicians. And it's very difficult to give good advice to oneself. Like, how do I become a better person? And to friends. Like, how do we become better people? How do we live better lives?
So I don't know what direction to choose. I'm trying to build that other kind of podcast called Food for Thought, where we would just discuss different challenging ideas. And one of them I keep thinking about like for years now. Years. It's been like I think 15 years I'm thinking about it. It's before war. I mean, there was always war somewhere, but like before war in Ukraine. It was rebuilding the cities or having a culture of forest, vertical forest, I call them. It's like self-sustained vertical forest. People can just go and they're like all over, like parking lots. And I keep thinking about it, and always life takes me away from that idea. Now there is war, and I also was thinking about music, so I'm at the Limeball and discussing with people, because I do like actually talking to people about music. And not from the point of view of Wikipedia, like we actually will talk what the song was about. No, what we think about the song was about. That was more interesting, because it's like it's human. Maybe it's that. Maybe we should try to look beyond war and immediate already discuss ways to rebuild. Put out ideas out there about roads built from plastic waste, and like put more of those visualizations about better future.
Sorry, I have to go, so I want to cut you off. But bye.
Okay, thank you, Gilad. Bye. Yeah, we are being done. Let's close up in 3 minutes. So what do you think about that?
I like the Limeball podcast.
Yeah, you like it? I like it. Yeah, I will keep chatting to people about music. I did reach out to some climate people. Let's see, maybe I will do something about that. There is an upcoming conversation with Russian bloggers coming in 2023. So that's one of the predictions. And yeah, music with you, Nerdalliun. People, check out our Spotify at the end of the month. Did not yet receive anything. So man, high five. I don't know where I am at your place.
Is that the right? That's the right side for me.
I don't know on YouTube. Cringe.